1. Prophet Muhammad was violent and spread Islam by the sword. 2. Prophet Muhammad was a misogynist and mistreated women. 3. Prophet Muhammad invented Islam for personal gain. 4. Prophet Muhammad copied ideas from Judaism and Christianity to create Islam. 5. Prophet Muhammad married Aisha when she was a child. Now, let me go ahead and debunk them.
Kebencian terhadap Islam di negara-negara Barat seringkali dikaitkan dengan sosok Nabi Muhammad SAW yang dicap buruk oleh sebagian pihak. Hingga berbagai tuduhan dan julukan negatif pun disematkan kepada beliau. Pada kesempatan kali ini, pasangan YouTuber yang sedang mempelajari Islam menanyakan kepada ChatGPT tentang citra buruk yang tersebar di masyarakat mengenai sosok Nabi Muhammad ini. Bagaimanakah ChatGPT menanggapinya? Simak video ini sampai habis.
فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ.
Hello, ChatGPT. We just did a little video about misconceptions about Muslim people and Islam. Now we want to get into misconceptions about the Prophet Muhammad and actually debunk them with you. So what I want you to do is I want you to list some misconceptions about the Prophet Muhammad, and then I want you to go ahead and debunk them for me.
Great. Let's go through some common misconceptions about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and I'll debunk each one as we go. 1. Prophet Muhammad was violent and spread Islam by the sword. 2. Prophet Muhammad was a misogynist and mistreated women. 3. Prophet Muhammad invented Islam for personal gain. 4. Prophet Muhammad copied ideas from Judaism and Christianity to create Islam. 5. Prophet Muhammad married Aisha when she was a child. Now, let me go ahead and debunk them. Prophet Muhammad was violent and spread Islam by the sword. This is one of the biggest misconceptions. Prophet Muhammad and early Muslims faced years of persecution and were forced into wars for self-defense. While he led battles, he always sought peaceful solutions. Islam spread largely through trade, personal example, and peaceful missionary efforts, not violence. The Quran teaches that there is no compulsion in religion, Quran 2:256. Prophet Muhammad was a misogynist and mistreated women. The Prophet Muhammad uplifted women's status in many ways. He promoted women's rights to education, inheritance, and their own property. His teachings advocated for fair treatment, respect, and kindness toward women. His marriage to Khadija, a businesswoman, and his respect for her wisdom shows his view of women as equals. Prophet Muhammad invented Islam for personal gain. This misconception ignores the fact that Prophet Muhammad faced severe hardships for promoting Islam, including persecution, starvation, and exile. If he were after wealth or power, he could have accepted the many offers from the Quraysh, his tribe, to abandon his mission. Instead, he lived a humble life and shared everything with his community. Prophet Muhammad copied ideas from Judaism and Christianity to create Islam. Islam shares roots with Judaism and Christianity, as all three are Abrahamic religions. But the Quran presents itself as a continuation and correction of previous scriptures. Prophet Muhammad was illiterate, so he could not have studied or copied these texts. Muslims believe that the Quran was revealed to him by God, and the Prophet made distinctions between Islamic beliefs and other religious practices. Prophet Muhammad married Aisha when she was a child. There's a lot of debate over Aisha's age at the time of her marriage, but cultural norms at the time differed from today's standards. In that era, it wasn't unusual for marriages to take place at a young age, but Aisha's marriage wasn't consummated until she was mature. Additionally, Aisha became a highly respected scholar and a leader in the early Muslim community, and her relationship with the Prophet was filled with mutual love and respect. Let me know if you want to dive deeper into any of these points.
Wow, that is very interesting. Now, one of the things I want to know is whenever you talk about basically how it was spread by the sword, explain to me why people say this, and then explain to me the reality of the situation and the historical context.
I'm glad you found it interesting. Let's break down why people say Islam was spread by the sword and what the reality and historical context were. Why people say this. The idea that Islam was spread by the sword stems from the fact that during the early years of Islam, there were several battles and military expansions, especially under the early caliphs after the death of Prophet Muhammad. People often focus on the military campaigns and conquests that took place in regions like the Arabian Peninsula, North Africa, and parts of Europe, and assume that these were purely religious wars aimed at forcing Islam on people. Some historical misunderstandings, as well as portrayals in media, have fueled this misconception that Islam was spread through violence and coercion. The reality and historical context. 1. Self-defense and survival. Prophet Muhammad and his followers faced severe persecution from the Quraysh tribe in Mecca. They were tortured, boycotted, and forced to flee to Medina. The first battles, like Badr and Uhud, were defensive and aimed at protecting the Muslim community from being wiped out. Islam wasn't being spread at the point of a sword. Rather, Muslims were defending their right to exist and practice their faith. 2. The concept of jihad. Jihad is often misunderstood as holy war, but its broader meaning is struggle or striving in the way of God. While it can refer to armed struggle in cases of self-defense, jihad in Islamic teachings focuses on spiritual struggle to lead a good life, spread justice, and defend the oppressed. The Quran and Hadith emphasize that war should only be conducted when necessary and under strict ethical guidelines. Even during warfare, Prophet Muhammad instructed his army not to harm civilians, women, children, or even trees and crops. 3. No forced conversions. The Quran is clear in saying, "Let there be no compulsion in religion." Quran 2:256. Forced conversion is prohibited in Islam. While there were military conquests under early Muslim empires, these were largely for political or territorial reasons, not religious coercion. Many regions conquered by Muslim rulers remained Christian, Jewish, or followers of other faiths for centuries. For instance, large Christian populations lived peacefully under Muslim rule in Spain and the Middle East. 4. Spread through trade and personal example. Islam actually spread more through peaceful means like trade, marriage, and preaching. In places like Indonesia, which today has the largest Muslim population, Islam spread through merchants and missionaries. These traders lived as Muslims and presented the faith through their actions, which attracted locals to Islam. No military campaigns were involved in the spread of Islam there. 5. Early conquests were largely political. After Prophet Muhammad's death, the Rashidun Caliphate, the early Islamic state, expanded into new territories. However,
You know what? When I'm listening to this, one of my favorite parts is how it said that in Islam, it says there can be no compulsion in religion. I really like that because it said there's no forced conversions, because there is like this heavy cloud that kind of hangs over Christianity whenever they're forcing people to convert to Christianity.
Right.
And
Crusades.
yeah, the Crusades, I mean, all over the world, in Africa and different places, literally all over the world, Asia, everywhere. And even in America, that's why a lot of black people are Christian, because the slave owners were Christian and they would force them to be Christian.
Right.
And, it's kind of a weird dynamic whenever you're forcing someone to worship the God that you worship. And it's just with Muslims, it's like you can choose to be Muslim or not.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's the best principle, because I always say, don't force anyone to do anything, just be the example. So whenever I see people commenting on our channel and they're being positive, they're being beautiful, they're being nice, that is the example. That makes me want to be Muslim.
That's
whenever
true.
I see Christians on Instagram and different places talking down on Muslims and doing then fighting in between Catholicism and Protestant and this and that, it's like, why are you doing that? Like, it's clearly some kind of ego thing, and it's like you're not really secure in your own beliefs at that point. So, it's just an interesting dynamic whenever we get into it, but I love it. What did you think, Kelly?
Yeah, I agree. That part stood out, as well as that Muhammad, peace be upon him, says to not harm humans, family, children, but even trees or crops, to make sure you don't harm trees or crops. I mean, that's how much more peaceful can you get? You know what I mean? Like, don't even tear a little branch off a tree. Don't even take a little leaf off. So I thought that was very interesting. And honestly, I don't even know any lines similar to that in the Bible. I mean, I'm not super well read on the Bible or anything, but I thought that was really remarkable and just so opposite of the typical stereotypes that you hear of, like we've done in these past couple of videos. So honestly, the truth is important. We have to know the truth, and that's why we make these videos, so more people can know the truth, because the media and news have just tarnished the name of Islam, unfortunately, but times are changing and more people are definitely realizing the truth.
Absolutely. So
Masya Allah, kita telah menyaksikan bagaimana ChatGPT membantah tuduhan dari mereka yang membenci Islam terhadap sosok Nabi Muhammad SAW. Tuduhan-tuduhan seperti Nabi yang gemar melakukan kekerasan, menyebarkan Islam dengan pedang, mendiskriminasi perempuan, menyalin ide-ide dari Yahudi dan Nasrani untuk menciptakan Islam, hingga menikahi wanita di usia yang masih kecil, semua itu ternyata sangat mudah dibantah oleh mesin buatan mereka sendiri. Ternyata, tuduhan-tuduhan tersebut tidak berdasar dan hanya didasari kebencian terhadap Islam. Mungkin mereka juga khawatir dengan perkembangan Islam yang cukup pesat di negara mereka. Ironisnya, mereka mungkin tidak sadar bahwa kini mesin buatan mereka sendiri yang mudah diakses oleh siapa saja justru dapat membantah tuduhan-tuduhan tersebut dengan fakta yang ada. Jawaban ChatGPT pun membuat pasangan YouTuber ini kagum dan semakin tertarik mendalami Islam lebih dalam. Mereka bahkan mengakui bahwa penjelasan tersebut membuat ketertarikan mereka terhadap Islam semakin kuat. Semoga video yang mereka buat ini adalah niat yang tulus untuk mempelajari Islam. Hingga pada akhirnya, mereka benar-benar memutuskan keyakinan mereka pada agama Islam ini. Cukup sekian video yang saya bagikan kali ini. Jika sekiranya bermanfaat, silahkan tekan like dan subscribe agar mendapatkan update video terbaru. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.